Hello and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Fearless, Do More. Today we have the wonderful Di Gates from Connection Heroes. Di is a founder, an innovator and a connector who's on a mission to redesign the way we work.
The phone was ringing with phone calls saying, Di, all of our team are now working remotely. Work's breaking down, no one's communicating, no one trusts each other. How the hell did you get your projects to run so smoothly when everyone was working from different places? I believe really wholeheartedly in the core of what we're trying to do with Connection Heroes is we are using science-backed training to really help organisations rebuild human connection across these teams. These are our Connection Heroes versus Connection Villains cards, and there's all sorts of individuals in here that you'll know from Jacinda, hero or villain?
Hero.
Hero, absolute hero, through to Katie Hopkins.
Morning, Di, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
I've been really looking forward to this one.
That worries me already.
Serial entrepreneur.
Apparently.
So I've just discovered you have spent half your life running businesses.
Yeah,
setting them up, getting them going, and then in some cases actually exiting as well. So it's been an interesting journey, I would imagine, over those 24 years.
Yeah, it has. I think, first business when I was 24, founded a creative agency with a business partner up until newest venture is really in its first year of trading. So it's been quite the ride.
And is there a theme that runs through the businesses that you have been involved in?
There is, looking back, I can see a theme. I don't think I could see the theme emerging, I guess, but that theme really is, it's all about human connection and collaboration. That's been my driver really since the start.
So your business now is called Connection Heroes. You're sporting the
I am.
branding. For those who are not, who are listening on audio, Di is wearing the Connection Heroes hoodie. Tell me about that business, because that's your current business.
That's the current business. What we do is quite simple. We deliver science-backed training into businesses to help them rebuild human connection across their distributed and their hybrid teams. There's 100 reasons why I'm so passionate about human connection. I think my first penny drop moment when I realised the link between human connection and performance was actually back at uni, pre-business, when I was captain of the university women's football team, way before the Lionesses and it being trendy. And we were terrible footballers. We were sort of like, the rejects from the hockey and the netball and the proper sports. And we hung out because we really liked each other. We really got on, and we loved playing football together. We were mainly kind of, tomboys of old who enjoyed it but weren't allowed to play when we were at school. So released our inner footballers when we got to uni. We were really, really not particularly skilled. We didn't have a coach. We didn't really have any tactics. But somehow, the year that I was captain, it was my last year at university, and we just kept winning. Literally every single week, we'd turn up on the football pitch against teams that were way better, way fitter, more drilled than us, and we kept winning all the way to the national final. We got to the national finals, which made no sense to me because I knew we weren't as good, I knew we weren't as skillful, I knew we weren't as fit. So the only thing that I could really explain to myself as to how we'd done it was just what a brilliant team we were, how we got on as a team.
So that feeling of human connection, do you think you knew what it was at the time? Or how powerful it could be? I
don't think I did. I think the unifying force for us all really was fun. We did trust each other, we did understand each other, we could anticipate each other, and we worked really hard for each other on the pitch. But really, the thread through all, our goal was to carry on playing football because we enjoyed it so much. So I didn't analyse it at the time. It was really, there was something about the feel of that team. We gelled, we connected, it was a really special time. And when I went on to found my first business, that was when I naturally found myself almost trying to recreate that same feel, that same connection, that same sense, because I'd felt it and enjoyed it and liked it. That was number one. But it also led to results. It led to us winning matches. And I didn't understand why or how, but I knew that there was an intrinsic link between the feeling and the enjoyment of that connection and the results that you could get.
What did you study at uni?
English.
So how did an English student, football playing young woman end up as an entrepreneur? Where did the entrepreneurial spark come from?
I've thought about this quite a lot, actually. I think growing up, I had a real myriad of influences. So my mum's the really empathetic, trusting extrovert in the true sense of the word, very, very social. So I think I get that interest and curiosity in people from my mum. My dad is just the ultimate pragmatist, and I'm very pragmatic. I'm a problem solver as well. But with my dad, we travelled all over the world, and he was in the Merchant Navy. So my wife doesn't know how I'm alive from some of the experiences I had as a kid. You know, in the 80s, in the tankers war, we were going around the Persian Gulf on a tanker with me and my brother having to sleep as close to the lifeboat as we could in case we got bombed, and because they wouldn't let us off the ship. We went to Australia, and we went camping in the outback, and we were basically, I think I was 3, we were given a piece of string with a whistle on, taught what a redback spider looked like, and said if we're going to stop and have a pee, make sure we knock over the nearby stone so a redback doesn't run out and bite us on the bum. If it did, blow the whistle. So I think growing up, my parents just had this, you know, this kindness and curiosity in people, but this general sense that life's a bit of an adventure and you'll be okay. But I also had a completely different influence. My next door neighbour, who ran a big business over in the Northwest, she didn't have a daughter, so she sort of took me under the wing. I was almost the daughter she never had. And I remember she used to have these cocktail parties where she'd invite the great and the good of the Northwest business community over. And me and my brother would be rolled out in kind of like white shirts and little dicky bows to serve the drinks. So from the age of about 7 or 8, so I knew who all of these people were, whether they had vodka, gin or whiskey, whether it was 1, 2 or 3 fingers. And I used to go network. I was like networking, going around the room and meeting these people and hearing these stories and their passion. They were all founders, owner-managed, you know, SMEs. And it just intrigued me. So I remember quite early thinking, there's something in this for me. I'm intrigued by it.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, when we talk about skills of the future and education for kids at the moment, we talk about role models and about how, you know, you can't be what you can't see. And that's like a brilliant example of that, where it was just ingrained in your upbringing that these were things that people did. People set up businesses, people ran businesses, and you saw that from such an early age. It probably didn't even become a thing for you.
No, it didn't. It was just part. It was, you know, my mum was a stay-at-home mum because my dad was in the Merchant Navy, so I didn't really see what he did for work. Really, it was out of my sphere of vision and experience. So in terms of the working world, really, it was Jean who, you know, and she was quite powerful. This is the 80s, so she had these huge dresses and the shoulder pads. So I didn't. That wasn't the Dallas. It really was. But there was just something, and I don't think I could put my finger on it. But I liked that sense of. It's funny. I don't think I've ever identified this, but there was something that was quite powerful about it. Not that I consider in any way that I've ever been powerful as a leader. I don't really think that's my style, but there was something intriguing, and it felt like it'd be fun. I've always been very driven by fun, and everyone at these parties was just having fun
with their 3 fingers of vodka.
Yeah, with their 3 fingers of vodka. Go figure. Yeah.
But do you think because she was a woman as well, that had a more powerful message, and that context of the 80s where it was very much hustle culture, very much male dominated?
I think I'd struggle to call her a feminist. She was a Thatcherite. She was she was a ball breaker. She was, you know, she took the business over from her husband after he died. But I think then, taking over the CEO role and a chair of a board in a very much a man's world, it was a pharmaceutical company. I think she went into battle every day. That's what she did. But we would have lots of talks about, God, she would hate me sitting like this now. She's passed on, Jean, bless her. But yeah, she would want me to, she was very aware of how I spoke and how I sat. As I got older, I would drink beer out of a bottle. She was disgusted at that. But there was lots of conversation about your identity as a woman or your identity in business. I think she got a lot of thoughts going in me that just wouldn't have otherwise happened for the average sort of 14, 15, 16-year-old.
It's interesting because you triggered something in me. So my aunt, she was quite a very strong, prominent figure in the Northeast. Her mother was Lady Mayoress, and she took there's some sort of, I don't understand the rules, but there's some sort of rule around that when you are the daughter. And she had a similar approach with me. She was a very powerful woman, really big, impressive woman with big hair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bright colours, big shoulder pads. But she would talk to me about using your feminine wiles in business and things like that, that sort of stuff, and you know, how to behave and how to, you know, all of that sort of stuff. which I took no notice
No.
of whatsoever.
Well, I remember actually, again, I've forgotten about this. I was brought up in Lancashire, but my mum was from Kent. So I didn't really have a strong Lancashire accent, but it was definitely northern. And she really did not want me to have this northern accent. She really thought it would disadvantage me, whatever career path I took. And when I was eventually applying for university, I actually chose linguistics along with literature. And one of the big drivers was that I could understand and articulate an argument back to her as to why my accent would not hold me back. It was literally the ability or the desire to prove her wrong was something that directly drove.
That's fascinating. The things that happen in our early life. It's funny when you get to, in your later years, 24 years on in business,
yes, absolutely.
you look back sometimes and you make those connections of the things that happened in those days that have resulted in you, but not just being the person you are, but your business being what it is as well. It's really
definitely
defining, and you don't realise that at the time, because when you're 24, you don't think about consequences in the future. You just think about the here and now.
Of course you do, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I think that my childhood definitely, I was very lucky to have the childhood that I had. It was very solid, but my parents, there was no element of micromanagement or micro-parenting. They were very much behind us, fully, and still are, but leaving us to take our own path, which I guess it created this atmosphere or this attitude that I would just generally be okay. I would never had fear or uncertainty as a child at all. But then also this argumentative side with this, this debating, interesting, like a really strong, powerful character. Curiosity.
It's not. Yeah, you might think it's argumentative, but you just want to know, you want to understand. Yeah. So when you decided to set up your business, and you told your parents you were going to do that, what was their reaction?
They were very supportive. So actually, when the first business, I'd finished my education. I'd gone travelling. I'd gone off by myself around Australia and New Zealand. And I came back to Newcastle just to visit my old uni friends when I'd just got back from travelling. And obviously I was broke. So I was like, what am I going to do? And by this point, the idea I had in mind was that, so I love language. I still love copywriting. I still love linguistics. I still love reading. So my idea was I would love to pair up with a designer and be kind of like a creative duo. And I think we could travel, we could work together. That was my absolute goal. But I found I'd got a copy of the journal, and I saw an advert, print ad in the back of this from this woman who was setting up a marketing business and was looking for a graduate to come alongside her to help build it. And I found out where this business was. It was based in the old post office building in the centre of Newcastle.
Which is a lovely building.
A great building. And I just rocked up, didn't announce myself, I just rocked up and met Siobhan and her husband. They were there, they'd literally just taken the office, they were painting it bright purple, it's horrific. And we went for a beer and we had a conversation about, what does it mean to run a business? What does it mean to be a woman running a business? How would you want, running a business? How would you want to be treated? And, designing the systems that would grow it in that way. And that was the start of a business that lasted for the best part of a decade. Was some of the most fun times of my life. It really was.
You had another business before the one you got now.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? What was that about?
So the first business was really good fun. We grew up to about 25 staff, making everything up as we went along. I think there's a big link between being fearless and being naive, and that every experience was new and fresh. But it also got to the point where my business partner and I had a very, very different idea on what the next chapter of the business was about. So this is 2009, 2010. And funnily enough, the theme that emerged, this connection theme to me, the thing that frustrated me about running an agency, we were a creative agency and we ran big behavioural campaigns for government agencies. So you would do a big tender, you'd win a piece of work, you would then, as your little team, the agency, go away, come up with loads of ideas and say, ta-da, and the client would take and run. And I always thought that was strange because I thought, why don't we collaborate together? Why you're the agency that understands the issues that you're trying to work with,
that you're trying to get across.
We've got the expertise to deliver it. We should be working together. So there was a break in the collaboration that frustrated me. And so the afternoon that I sold my half of the business, I still didn't really know what I was going to do. I knew it was going to be around collaboration, connection, but I didn't know how. And that afternoon, I took my dog for a walk, Becky, who was a spaniel. And as soon as we were getting close to the woods, she was getting really excited and jumping and springing. And it was because she loved chasing sticks, and she knew the sticks were in the woods. So I called my accountant and I said, right, register Stick Theory Limited, and I'm going to chase what makes me happy. That was
brilliant.
That was
I love that. I don't think I've known you for a long time. I don't think I knew that was where the name came from.
Yeah, Stick Theory, it was about chasing what makes me happy. And so I knew that I wanted to collaborate. I didn't want to grow a business again at that point. I didn't want staff. I wanted a different model, because that was where I wanted a lightweight, flexible, remote model. So Stick Theory I christened as a collaboration agency, and I wanted to collaborate with clients on communication solutions that would bring their knowledge to the fore and my comms expert to the fore. So almost maybe the embryo of working in pairs and small groups and stuff. And that's what I did. So the very, very first project I remember was inspired by Dinah Bennett.
Oh, yes.
I'd been part of the Women into the Network Awards, and there was a need to spin that out from university and set it up as a social enterprise. So that was the first project that I did, was establishing the board and setting that up. And so that involved me, working with quite a lot of senior female leaders, actually, in kind of points of change where collaboration was needed. And that's 16 years now, Stick Theory running as a collaboration agency, and I've loved every minute of it.
And you still got that business running?
Still
today?
running it, yeah. I mean, the morph from Stick Theory to Connection Heroes has started happening really over the last sort of 2 to 3 years. Connection Heroes as its own entity is new, but the inspiration started a little while ago. Over the years, I've morphed really from working on kind of branding, marketing, externally facing projects, much more to internally, because, you can't polish a turd, what's the expression? You can roll it in glitter, but if things are broken on the inside of an organisation, that break is going to show on the outside. Yeah. And because I was running this collaboration model, normally the projects I was running would be maybe 4 or 5 people from the client side, different teams, maybe 3 or 4 of my associates, all working remotely on change projects. And that with that essence of fun at the heart of them. So everyone enjoyed working on the projects that I used to drive. When the pandemic struck, literally every single one of my projects stopped overnight, because none of them were business as usual. They were all innovation projects. And that was fine, to be honest, because I had my daughter and my stepson, so I didn't have to juggle. I could just focus on being a mum for 6 months. But then the phone started ringing, not because those projects were starting up again, but because the phone was ringing with phone calls saying, Di, all of our team are now working remotely. Work's breaking down. No one's communicating. No one trusts each other. How the hell did you get your projects to run so smoothly when everyone was working from different places? So that was what started happening. That literally, as we were coming that first kind of work from home blanket kind of guidance that came in, it was a few months into that, and the panic started setting in because our way of working had changed so radically. The old systems, the old styles of management just broke down, and that was what people started to asking for help with.
Yeah, and I think the pandemic it was an awful time for lots of people for lots of different reasons. But I think some of the positives that came out of it were that we had to innovate, had to do something different, because it wasn't business as usual anymore. And I think when you're in that sort of crisis mode, you can be a bit more fearless.
You can be fearless.
You can be a bit more fearless because you're like, well, what's the worst going to happen?
There was no choice, but also very reactive. There wasn't time for strategy, was there?
No.
And so people had to go with their guts.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the strategy was decided like that, right? This is what we're going to do. Yeah. Because you knew that if it didn't work, you could pivot quite quickly.
Absolutely.
But that all relied on you being a tight-knit team.
If you work in an organisation where mistakes are allowed and there is trust, and you accept that mistakes happen as part of the innovation process, that tightens teams. If you don't have that culture of trust and that understanding that things don't always work when you're innovating, that's where the blame game can start, and you end up with the antithesis of that. You end up with some quite deep fractures across leadership teams, and that's what we're seeing playing out a little bit now. Yeah.
So your businesses have always been around consultancy, a sort of consultancy model, but now within Connection Heroes, you're developing a product as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's 2 reasons around that. One is I've always run service-based businesses, so there's the novelty of looking at a very different type of business model that can scale. And the second thing is I believe really wholeheartedly in the core of what we're trying to do with Connection Heroes is we are using science-backed training to really help organisations rebuild human connection across these teams. And there's a particular mindset and skill set and tool set that works to fix and to rebuild those connections, regardless of whether you're a small business, a massive business, whatever sector you're in. That core mindset, that remembrance that human connection matters, and that desire to intentionally prioritise it in your day-to-day interactions. I can teach that, and my team can teach that in a way that is very, very replicable, regardless of location. So to me, that's the essence of when you've got a common problem and a repeatable technique to teach it, it's the essence of a really valuable product. So that's my learning curve at the moment. I'm learning to, say no to clients instead of yes to clients, because I want them to buy something strongly resembling. There's always tailoring, because every business likes to think they've got a unique set of problems, when in reality there's way more overlap than there is difference. So there's a lot of learning in terms of how to structure the business, how to market the business, trying to bury this desire to please everybody and say yes and go on journeys of adventure to solve different types of problems. It's hard, but it's one I'm enjoying.
Yeah, but I mean it solves a sort of a succession issue. It's if you can replicate it, if you can translate what you teach into something that other people can take forwards. I mean, because the downside of consultancy is it's all about you, and it's if you're not around to do it, then what is there in the business? Where's the value? Yeah.
And it's interesting. The appetite and the interest in what I'm doing is huge. And I think it's because you talked earlier about how businesses needed to innovate and change and do so really, really quickly. The function in the business that was leading a lot of that change was the HR function, the people function. Now, historically, that wasn't really a driver of innovation. That was it was the opposite. They were the policy makers and the enforcers. Yet that function in the last 5 years has radically reinvented itself into a powerhouse of innovation, largely led by women. Most senior people leaders are women in their mid-40s to mid-50s, like on the whole. And these roles, these amazing women, are maintaining this focus on being human whilst dealing with such massive changes in the workplace. And they can see that at the essence of it is this human connection. So the desire for a product, the desire for a fix is quite keen. So there's no shortage of people that want this approach and want to learn how to do it.
So the product is a tech-based product?
The product's available in a number of different ways. So there is a core management development program that we run called Connected Leaders, and that's delivered hybrid. But there's a lot of organisations who don't necessarily have established management development programs and systems set up to just put their teams on. So we've broken the whole system down into a series of workshops. So we have individual connection skills workshops, again, can be delivered online or face-to-face. And they can be kind of mix and match to suit whatever the key challenges are that the organisations face.
Fearless, Do More is brought to you by the team at Square One Law. If you're enjoying this episode, hit follow or subscribe. It really helps us out, and it means that you won't miss out on any future episodes. We have some great fearless guests that leave you feeling really inspired. And if you think someone else would enjoy it too, feel free to pass it on, whether that's a mate, a colleague, or someone in your network. Thanks for listening. Now back to the conversation.
You've picked up on something that I think is a part of human. It's this thing around fun that you've got that comes through, and gamifying what we're doing so you can diffuse some of the difficult issues. So you have some cards. Have you got them with you?
I do. Inspired by one of my all-time favourites. All of those times we spent on the oil tankers. Me and my brother would spend hours upon hours playing top trumps.
Oh, yes.
So inspired, like you say, this thread of fun and playing is really important when when we run these sessions, we're asking people to dig deep and really think about themselves. And so anything that you can do to inject them, get them out of their sense of monotony and business as usual and start playing is a great way. So these are the cards that we created. So
Di's got a pack of cards in her hands for those who are on audio, which are all different colours. Do you want you describe them, because I'll probably get it wrong.
You will not get it wrong. So these are our Connection Heroes versus Connection Villains cards. And there's all sorts of individuals in here that you'll know, from Jacinda, hero or villain?
Hero.
Hero, absolute hero, through to Katie Hopkins. Villain. So we've got all sorts of characters. Some are political, some are made-up characters. We've got Winnie the Pooh in there, Hermione Granger.
It's got to be hero Winnie the Pooh.
You've got to be a hero. But the idea is, we have at the heart of our teaching are 6 core strengths for connection. And so these are the 6 values on the card. So we run from curiosity, because curiosity, being interested in people, is number 1 for connection. Vulnerability is huge if we want to build trust in our teams.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about this, Gill, this leading with vulnerability, with honesty. It's so important. Inclusivity, clarity, accountability, and positivity. Actually, that last one's quite interesting. In this increasingly distributed world, when we're all behind screens, we're seeing an increasing trend towards negative bias. So seeing reasons why not to, seeing barriers instead of seeing opportunities and ways to kind of lean forward and work together and collaborate. We're seeing an increasingly trend towards negative thinking, which is So these are this kind of 6 values. So in order to help people understand and embrace these, we like to play with them.
So give me an example of your biggest hero.
Oh, the biggest hero. I mean, you've got Jacinda,
to pick one to be by your side.
I mean, it definitely wouldn't be Donald Trump. He's the one no one wants to get. Some people are just in there because I like them.
The bottom Trump rather than the top Trump.
Yeah, basically, Very good. Yeah, we've got Dame Judy in there just because I love Judi Dench. She's just in there because I'm a bit of a fangirl. So I would probably say Jacinda is right up there. Malala, imagine Malala in 20 years' time. She's going to be really powerful. David Attenborough.
Oh, he's everybody's hero, isn't
He might be up there again, because we talk a lot about kind of curiosity. I think people in their 90s still being curious is really powerful, because it pulls the rug from all of those who, when you hit 40, think that's it and you're done.
I know.
So I'd go for Attenborough. I'll go for David. Who would you pick? Ooh. Who would yours be?
I mean, Jacinda Ardern is one of my absolute heroes. Yeah. Another one is Doreen Lawrence. I don't know whether she's in there.
She's not in there.
She's, and also actually I was at the Tees Businesswomen Awards recently, and Anne Ming won the Jane Turner Prize.
Yes, yeah.
And it was a story I knew a little bit about. Her daughter was murdered, and the guy who murdered her was found not guilty. I think he was found not guilty. And she got the double jeopardy laws changed because there was more evidence came out, and he was retried and convicted.
Wow.
She single-handedly got the double jeopardy laws changed. So people like that who have got absolute tenacity.
To do it from a state of such grief and such.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Amazing woman.
Yeah.
Amazing woman.
And that's the other thing, things like this is stories. Real people's stories are the most inspiring. But whether they inspire you to do or they get you angry against, it doesn't, whether they motivate positive action or activism, it doesn't matter, does it, these?
So when you were coming up with that list of names, was it easy just to go, these?
So you want the honest answer? It was very, very last minute. I mean, some of them were really honest. I was helped by a little bit of ChatGPT, truth be told. No, it was really easy to come up with the connection heroes. Yeah. Really, really easy, especially once you start to look at the categories and you say, right, who are the fictional characters and who are the politicians? It's really easy to think of the top, the real baddies and the real goodies are really easy. But then you also think that's not many people can really identify with either the true connection heroes or the villains. A lot of people in between. So I've got Lucy Bronze in there, for example.
Yeah.
I think she's a real connection hero in terms of her attitude and her stalwart and her presence on the team, but she wouldn't really, if you were to ask 100 people for a list that stands out, her name probably wouldn't appear. Yeah. So those were the tough ones, those people that, wouldn't leap to mind, that just make you think maybe in a different way.
Heroes
the unsung heroes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really interesting way of approaching human behaviour, and you can tell that it's science. It's got science running through it. It's not just fun now. It has got absolute science at the heart of it. So what's next for the business? Where do you think you'll take it?
It's early days. We finished our initial pilot programme in February of this year with five organisations. We did quite a lot of reorganising of the core programme content from there, and we're now engaging. We know we want to work with larger hybrid organisations who value employee engagement, who value the employee experience, and who value wellbeing, and importantly, those that understand the link between wellbeing and productivity. which it's crazy that we even have to say.
It's obvious, isn't it?
It is obvious, but still not for many, sadly. So the idea is to scale the kind of the current kind of product set, but my real interest comes in two areas. One is digitizing the product to look at some self-guided learning pathways. So it seems odd to consider that we can teach human connection.
I was just going to say that's oxymoron there, isn't it?
It's bizarre, but because we talk about mindset, skill set, tool set, the mindset, when we teach it, there is a lot of self-reflection. So, I would say to you, Gill, can you think of a time when in your career at any point, there's been a moment of human connection which has had a really strong impact on you?
Yeah.
And we run this in sessions, and that's done in silence. And we might invite sharing at some point, but it's very much introspective and reflection. And then we move on to the next level to say, okay, if that's the case, then why does connection matter here in this environment for this team? And then we move on to say, and what if these are the reasons why connection matters, what are the things that block it? So all of those start with a certain element of introspection, and then they share. So if you imagine a blended learning experience where you can in your time that suits do these reflection points, and then at key points in the program there's group reflection. So it's this blend of individual guided learning, group reflection and check-in to see if we're kind of gathering common themes or not. And then the skill, once we go from mindset to skill set, again, we can use technology quite cleverly. So one of the skills we teach and the frameworks we teach is radical candor. And there's AI tools now that allows you to practice radical candor with kind of interactive conversations. So there's definitely ways, it's not going to be easy, but there's definitely ways where we can have a blended learning experience where I'd say 80% of it can be digital and self-guided. So I think the next chapter of the business is really about kind of delving in how we can make that happen.
So, I mean, obviously at the moment in a lot of businesses, there's a bit of a pushback on hybrid working.
Yes.
People are like, oh, we need to go back to how it was in the good old days where everybody sits in an office, and that obviously means that people are being productive.
Oh, it drives me to insanity.
What's your view on whether human connection needs to have a physical element to it?
Our guide is to try and encourage people to shift the narrative. The current narrative is all about physical connection. It's should we be in the office, should we not? How many days should we be in the office or how many not? So it's a very reductive conversation, and it's very polarizing. It's also very inequitable because the people that are affected more by stricter working conditions and affected by proximity bias are women and underrepresented groups. So to me, the future of work has to stay equitable and flexible. The issue is, if we can change that conversation from physical proximity and physical connection and change it instead to talking about human connection, we open up a richer conversation where we say, oh, what do we mean by human connection? Well, we define human connection as how much your team see, hear, value, and trust each other. And it's that each other that's important to me. It's a reciprocal. If you open up a conversation about how can we improve human connection, you start to say, okay, well, how can we build trust? That starts to open up conversations where we can build trust through vulnerability and through gratitude. Okay, well, what skills can we teach our managers and our teams so that we understand how we can build vulnerability and gratitude when we're not in physical proximity? And you can forge through and you can build this level of human connection whilst maintaining physical distance. You just have to be intentional about it. You have to prioritise it, and we have to teach people the new skills that they need. That said, there's absolutely certain parts of work. We're physical beings, and we have a different neurochemical reaction when we're in physical proximity, when we're less than 2 meters apart from each other. And there are definitely certain types of work and certain stages in our kind of colleague relationship development where getting together is definitely fruitful and effective and necessary. The key is to just not be lazy about it and define those moments and think about them.
Be very intentional about what needs to be in face-to-face and what doesn't.
Absolutely. And by doing that, you should then start to build the data set to support whether or not you're making those decisions at the right time. So you should see collaboration increase at those points. You should see trust increase as a result of it. You should see more diverse views being brought forward to the ideas table. If we're intentional about when we bring people physically together and what we want as a result, then we can measure it and then we can refine our strategy as we go.
It's interesting you mentioned the 2 meter thing because, obviously that during COVID, we had to all keep 2 meters apart. I wonder whether whether there was an understanding that would have an impact on human connection or whether it's been an unintentional.
I think it's unintentional. I think we used the wrong word. We used social distancing. We shouldn't have done. It should have been physical distancing. I think we had a moment mid-pandemic where we suddenly realised the true value of human connection because it got removed from us.
Yes.
And we realised that in our social worlds, in our workplaces, and we've forgotten. We've forgotten it, and especially in workplaces, we've forgotten what it really meant. So in workplaces at the moment, there's a huge increase in reported levels of isolation and loneliness. Though the CIPD report this year says that 1/3 of all UK adults are feeling lonely at work. That doesn't mean that they're sitting next to people. Loneliness is a feeling you can have whether you're in a room with 100 people or a room by yourself. And it's that feeling of not feeling seen, heard, valued and trusted. And it's because people are not realising that connection's not going to happen by default anymore. It's just gone. It was much more likely to happen by default when we were face to face. But you'll know as well, we're hearing about people going into the office and then spending all day on Zoom call.
Yes, I know. Back to back on Teams for the whole day and then go home again. It's
just crazy.
It's also because of bad use of time.
Really
it's an
bad use of
inefficient
time.
way to work. But I think yes, there's still there's obviously some hard baked assumptions about how you drive productivity that are going to be difficult to change. Do you think government has got a role to play in that? Because they've been one of the worst ones.
They've been one of the worst.
Back in the office.
Oh, they're really bad. Has the government got a role? I don't know that it could, because I don't think this is an area for legislation and policy. Workers' rights and the opportunity for flexible working now has been, hard baked in. So everybody has a right to work flexibly now, which I think is a good thing. I think what we're seeing happening with this influx and this increase in the RTO mandate is established leaders. So we're in our kind of late 40s and 50s now. What we're used to, our skill set for managing and leading has largely been face-to-face. Yeah. That's how we've developed our skills. We just happen to be open and agile and flexible and up for change. But that's still quite unusual, isn't it? So there's a lot of senior leaders out there who are feeling very vulnerable right now because all of the skills and the attributes that have got them where they are into these senior management positions have almost become redundant overnight because the strengths that they relied upon of, walking the room, getting a feel of their team, looking people in the eye, feeling powerful, they've just gone. And so what happens when we start to be vulnerable is we swing back, and this is part of what we teach on the course, we swing back into our kind of primitive part of our brain where we feel at threat. And when a lot of managers feel at threat, that's when they start to micromanage because they want to try and control what they can. So marching people back into the office puts them back into their comfort zone and gives them that sense of power that they've perhaps lost. And I don't believe for a minute that lots of them are doing this mindfully and intentionally.
No. Well, it's probably a proportion that just want things to be the way things work.
Yes.
And don't really have a reason for it other than that. But I think a lot of people think that it's, it's got to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
If things aren't working, it must be because of that.
It's crazy. But the issue is what's happening when RTO mandates are made and they are not evidence-based. The only thing that you're guaranteed to do is impact trust. Because what your people will hear is, oh, so you don't trust me to work from home. Now, the problem with that is that the reasons that get cited to bring people back are often around collaboration. All the business studies in all of the world, the one I cite a lot is Google's Project Aristotle, but all of the main leading theories in high-performing teams is that the foundational level is psychological safety, it's trust. So when leaders are making non-evidence-based RTO mandates, they are removing the very foundation that they need for the reason they are trying to bring people back in, which is successful collaboration. So it's
just completely counterproductive.
It's completely counterproductive, and it feels so common sense. Yeah. I don't understand why people aren't realising this.
But it's good that we've got people like you who, because I think what we need is, there's lots of people out there who will talk about, it's really important to respect hybrid working, to keep it going, but you've got the science behind it. You've got this is why you need to do it. And I think that's the really convincing, credible part of what you do, is that it's all science backed, which is great.
It's interesting because in some ways that was my biggest point of imposter syndrome at the foundation of when I was deciding to turn this from a consultancy offer into a learning offer.
Yeah.
I've spent 20 years running remote collaboration projects. I know the agile tools, the human-centered design tools, the working frameworks that get teams working together. And I understood, but couldn't articulate what was happening, neurochemically. I knew that feel that I had in that team at uni, and that feel in the first business, but I couldn't articulate it. And this business kicked off with a £50,000 Innovate UK grant. That was what helped me create the foundation for it. And my very first call with my mentor on the Innovate UK programme, she was a business psychologist, and she said to me, Di, I love what you're doing because you've put it in such pragmatic terms, but I know that you're talking about such and such a theory and such and such a model. And I sat there and I froze. And I thought, what am I doing? How do I think I can create a training business when I don't have all of that knowledge that you've talked about? And so I went away and, had a bit of a sulk for a couple of days, and then realised that, maybe I just need to connect with someone who does know this stuff. So I met Jane, who's my business psychologist that works with the team on Connection Heroes. And we worked together on developing this core strengths framework, which uses the neuroscience of human connection to explain why these pragmatic tools that I use and the approaches that I work on a neuroscientific level. And it's really interesting when I'm speaking to kind of these old school leaders who kind of want people back in the office. And I'm saying, no, you don't. You just need to teach your managers about neuroscience. You can imagine the reaction I get. And then as I was going to say to them, I have a workshop that I run called the Business Case for Connection. And I talk through the data. So the fact that £438 billion was lost in productivity due to disengagement last year globally. The fact that a third of your workforce is feeling isolated, that a third of them are at risk of high mental health. When I point out the real business impact of disconnection, we then start to talk about, well, this is why it's happening, because when we're having a shift in the neurological state that we're operating from, we've got different neurochemicals that are directly inhibiting us from collaborating, or directly inhibiting us from asking for help from our peers, or making it impossible for us to challenge the status quo. When you can explain it from a neuroscientific basis as well as the data, that's when it becomes really compelling, I think.
Yeah, so you move away from just being a tub thumping woman who wants everybody just to be able to work however they want. Yes,
absolutely.
It moves away from the fluffy stuff into the real hard, this is the business benefit, which is what people need to be able to take that case to their board, to be able to say, look, this is what we need to do, and it's based in fact, and it's based on empirical evidence, and it's based on science.
Absolutely.
And it's also based on Di, because she's wonderful. So we've talked a lot about sort of business and the way, how you've ended up, but outside of work, what sort of stuff do you like doing? Is it all team sports because you like collaborating, or is it?
You'd be surprised, wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, kind of sports and being active has always been a massive part. Yeah. So, my first real foreign sport was taekwondo, which my mum got me to start. And I don't really know why, to be honest.
Maybe she thought when you were on the ships, you might need to take somebody down at some point.
Absolutely. Well, in fairness, I was the chief hustler on the ships. They used to send me in when I was only 6 or 7. All the local traders used to come on and set up stall on the deck. And if any of my dad's colleagues wanted to buy anything, they'd send me in to barter. I was a mean barter kid.
I had no idea that on the Merchant Navy there were families living on the boat.
No, just us. We were only ever... I don't know why we were there. There was nothing to do. We were bored out of our minds. No, there was one trip. There was one trip where there was another family on board, and that was a transatlantic trip. And we were going... And the oil tankers, they had the big accommodation block at the back, and the front was just open, all the pipes on. And we were crossing the Atlantic, and we were going through a hurricane. There was a complete deck ban, and the entire front of the ship disappeared under the waves and then came back up. It was quite terrifying. I was probably about 8, and this is the one time there was another family on the trip, and the older brother of that family, who was a bit minxy, dared me to go out on deck. Of course, if you get a dare...
You went, no, I won't do that. My mum won't like that.
God, so I went out on deck. I got absolutely grilled. They had to send a load of stewards out, like holding each other's hand to come and peel me off. I got in trouble. So it was a good job, really. There weren't other kids. But no, we were the only ever ones on the ship. So yeah, maybe my mum knew there were some hard times ahead.
So you started taekwondo. Your mum got you into taekwondo.
Yeah. And I just loved it. I loved the discipline of it, actually. I don't know why. I do quite like structure. Mm-hmm. It's all a bit antithetic, isn't it, really? I like having the structure and the security. And I enjoyed the learning. I enjoyed kind of learning the technique. It's quite technical. And my instructor was very old school. I stuck with it for years. Got my black belt, did a lot of competitions, and that was one of the reasons I came to the Northeast.
Underplaying this a little bit. You won a lot of competitions. You were in the British team at one point, weren't you?
At one point, yeah. It was an Olympic sport, but it was very junior Olympic sport by then, so there was never kind of contention of that. But yeah, we used to come up to the Northeast, because I'm from the Northwest, but we used to come up to the Northeast for squad training. And that was one of the reasons I got into Newcastle Uni through the back door, to be honest. I wrote a handwritten letter. That's how I ended up there.
What, rather than applying through UCAS like everybody else?
There's always a bit of blag involved. Handwritten letters actually have played a bit of a pivotal role in my life. There's been a few of them. Yeah, I applied to do media studies for university course. I wanted to do kind of digital media studies. It was just starting to pop up. So it was at all of the polys, all the new universities were doing these media courses. And it got to the point where I got offers from everywhere, because you needed 1E or something to get in on these courses. My English teacher said, Di, what are you doing? You've got a real talent for English. You're making a wrong call here. And so I did what I was told, and I rejected all of my choices stupidly. And then I called UCAS to say, can I want to go again? And they said, that's fine. Next year. And I was like, no, I can't go next year. I'll miss all my mates. So I decided on Newcastle. I'd never been to the city before, but it looked fun. And the Taekwondo was up here in the Theatre Royal, which was the home of RSC. So I thought, yeah, it looks a good place. And I found the name of the course that I wanted to go on, and the name of the leader of the course. And I wrote a handwritten letter explaining why I'd like to do her course. And she wrote back saying, get yourself an A in English and you're in.
Excellent.
And I did. That was 30 years ago.
That would work these days, but...
these days, yeah.
Back in the day, that probably did. That was probably a good way.
But 30 years ago now, 30 years ago, exactly, yeah.
Well, I think that's probably quite a nice way to tie it all together, because, you are somebody who has epitomised fearlessness, from the 7-year-old going on the deck in the storm to just bypassing UCAS and writing directly to the course that you wanted to be on, to setting up 3 very successful businesses. I think you're a really good exemplar of that fearlessness that you can embody in business. So thank you for coming on and telling us your story. We could talk all day, I know we could.
Very easily.
But, it's been lovely to hear some stuff that I didn't know about, Di.
Oh, thanks, Jill.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Fearless, Do More, brought to you by Square One Law. If you found today's conversation inspiring or interesting, we've added a recommendation for what to listen to next. That's either on the screen now or in the show notes. Take care, and we'll see you next time.